There was major sort of, I wouldn't say trauma, but trauma to some extent, whereby my mum and dad would argue quite a lot, and being young, I would always try and break up the fights. I've never understood why people need to, or feel the need to, you know, dehumanise somebody else just for their own pleasure. So, you know, I stuck up for this kid, and basically, yeah, that was kind of what led to, like, the bullying. Back in the 80s, the bullying in schools was so prevalent, and I'll be honest with you, the teachers really didn't take it on board like the way they do now. And I was going down to the shop one day, and this guy was, he was at the bus stop, and I remember either him asking me the time, or I might have asked him the time. You know, he would take me and my sister out, you know, to swimming. You know, he'd take me out up to London, because I mean, I didn't really realise that I was by him until a lot later. I had to say like nothing had happened, because I felt that's the only choice I had. And they are made to feel like myself was all made to feel like it was our fault, you know. He used to say to me, "I'm doing this because I love you." And I remember him pushing me onto the bed, and literally he tried to me. Is I would like him, for example, to be sat in his chair, and I would like to ask him why he done what he done. I would really like to know, honestly, why you done what you done.
So I recently had dinner with Jamie, and he's got a really positive vibe about him. He has been through a hell of a lot in his life, and this is going to be an extremely harrowing story. Due to the nature of what Jamie has been through, and now I'm required by the UK police to ask Jamie, does he waive his anonymity? Do you waive your anonymity, Jamie?
Yeah.
All right, so huge thank you for coming on.
Yeah, thank you,
Jamie.
Yeah, really appreciate you spending time with us today. Before we get to the traumatic stuff that you've been through, then let's just go over your background a little bit and what part of the country you grew up in.
Well, I was brought up in West London, and my mum and dad were really good parents, although they kind of really wasn't suited to, you know, like, they were two kind of different people.
What did they do?
My dad actually was a roadie years ago for like big bands and stuff. And yeah, they were just two different people. So unfortunately, like, although they loved us, me, my sister and my brother, you know, very much, there was major sort of, I wouldn't say trauma, but trauma to some extent, whereby my mum and dad would argue quite a lot, and being young, I would always try and break up the fights, or so on and so forth. And also because my younger brother and my younger sister, you know, would have been upstairs, and they would hear it, and it was, you know, like being a kid, it'd be really horrible. You know, I'd always be kind of concerned for those two, as well as my mum and dad, you know. So that's kind of where it all sort of began, with my story to some extent.
Sorry, how did you break up the fights?
I used to just come down, and them two would be fighting in the kitchen and stuff, and I'd be like trying to stop them arguing, you know, and, you know, being like that innocent kid, you know what I mean? Not understanding why mum and dad sort of fighting and arguing.
And what age were you at this point?
This would have been, when I was really more aware of it, it would have been sort of like 10, 11. So it was quite early, yeah.
How many siblings did you have, Jamie?
I've got one brother and one sister.
And what was your relationship with like them growing up?
Pretty good, to be quite honest with you. Yeah, pretty good. I mean, they've all had their challenges and stuff, you know, and they've come out really, really well. I mean, my parents brought us up to be very respectful, and I can't fault them on that. You know, they've brought up three decent adults, you know, now. So I'm ever so grateful to them for that. Do you know what I mean? So
you are a wonderful soul, I've got to say.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And what about your school years? Did you enjoy school?
No, I was bullied as a kid, and I was bullied like how that sort of came about, actually, was I was sticking up for some other kid that got bullied. And so it turned out, you stick up for the underdog or whatever, and eventually, like, all the kids kind of hate you because you're sticking up for this person. And I always hated bullies, I've never understood why people need to, or feel the need to, dehumanize somebody else just for their own pleasure. So, I stuck up for this kid, and basically, that was kind of what led to, like, the bullying. And it was very, very, it was like every day, to be quite honest with you, because on the estate that we lived in, all the kids went to the same sort of school. So on the estate, it was, so not only did you get it at school, but you got it when you was at home as well, like on the estate.
And what sort of things would they do?
Oh, they'd shout names. There'd be groups of people. They'd pretend to be your friends, and they get you into a position where then they all turn on you, if you get what I mean. So they kind of lure you into a false sense of security, which is so damaging to, like, the person that's having that done to, you know what I mean? Especially at that young age. And I mean, obviously kids are cruel anyway, and kids can be really sort of like nasty without necessarily understanding why that they're being nasty.
What was the nastiest things they did to you?
I think, like, the name calling. I mean, I was beaten up, quite a few times. I was put in positions where other people could beat you up.
What sort of names were they calling you?
Oh, I got everything from ugly to big nose to tramp to, oh goodness, just general derogatory terms that it wasn't, now you look back at it wasn't necessarily, they was like really genuinely meaning it. It was just how kids are, and bullies and stuff, I mean, a lot of these kids weren't necessarily bullies, but they were just joining in with
the other kids.
Do you know what I mean, sort of thing.
How long did that go on for?
Oh, that was all through my school years, all up to high school, and even towards, I think more towards the end of high school, it kind of eased off a bit.
So did you have many friends at this point at all then?
No, not really. I was very much a loner, very much. Yeah, very much a loner.
What do you think made it stop?
I think probably, as you get older and people, like, the older you get, you realise that there's no reason to act like that. Two, you change as a person, you grow up, so you realise that you don't treat people this way, sort of thing. And I think as you get older and instead of being around children or kids now, you're around sort of teenagers, adults that are growing up to be, grown up, their own people and, like, grown up personalities, if you like. That is what kind of made it a lot easier, because you was dealing with a different kind of person. And that different kind of person wasn't trying to belittle you or make fun of you or put you down or make you feel bad about yourself. They were sort of almost on your level. It was kind of like an equal sort of playing ground to some extent, if that makes any sense.
Did anyone try and help you, like teachers, or did your parents get involved? Or
Siblings?
We did have, I had my parents go down about the bullying, but back in the 80s, the bullying in schools was so prevalent, and I'll be honest with you, the teachers really didn't take it on board like the way they do now. I mean, and even now, that there's so much bullying in schools that goes unnoticed, and I think that really does need to be highlighted as well at some point.
It's definitely damaging,
because it's so damaging to the the fundamental, as you're growing up, and your learning process, it damages all that, and your outlook on life and your outlook towards people as well can be, it can be really damaging. I mean, I was quite lucky in the sense of I could distinguish the difference between the two types of people, if that makes any sense.
So what did you do for fun around this time?
I was going to ask, have you got any happy memories?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I immerse myself in music and stuff, so I like, to get away from it, and art as well. I used to draw quite a lot and stuff. So that was kind of my escape, was drawing and that. And then sort of as an early teen, playing guitars and stuff like that, and music, because I used to play violin when I was a kid. So I think that was the most therapeutic thing that I had, that was not self-destructive, like, you know, sort of, you know, I could have chose alcohol or something along that lines, you know. And this was kind of like the safest thing that you could kind of like, you know, not get high on as such, but, you know, you could just lose yourself in it. But it was safe because you wasn't doing yourself any damage of any kind, and you wasn't hurting anybody else as well.
Definitely.
So I think I'm quite lucky to have an ear for music and be able to use that sort of negative energy to some extent into a positive way.
Because, yeah, I heard you play this morning. You're really talented. So,
and I also like, it's the same people. I always try to use my negativity, not my negativity, but my negative experiences, and try and use them to somehow be positive or help someone else be positive in their situations. So I think to some extent it has been, what would be the word? It has been very educational, you know, as a person to grow and to learn.
Which is a huge credit to your spirit. And something far worse than the bullying happened in your life. How did this person enter your life, and how old were you?
It would have been about 12. And the person that we're actually talking about used to live across the road. And being a young lad, I was always, and being very innocent as well, so I was always like, you know, I'd quite happily talk to anybody. And I was going down to the shop one day, and this guy was, he was at the bus stop, and I remember either him asking me the time, or I might have asked him the time. And, you know, conversation, oh, you know, it's so-and-so, oh, it's a nice day, because it was a nice sunny day. And it turned out he lived across the road from us, and he eventually, like, we kind of like ended up like chatting and talking to each other, and he met my mum and dad, and he was also talking to a couple of the other mums.
So we met your mum and dad through you?
Yeah.
Did you say? Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I didn't realise he was talking to another young lad, and he was talking to his mum as well, you see. So I didn't realise that. I knew the lad because I'd played with the lad, you know, because he was one of the lads that lived across the road. But I didn't realise how sort of involved it was until slightly later. And there was a couple of incidences that was not right with this lad.
What were those incidences?
Well, he'd ended up in his bed, which was very, very strange. Because we used to go around and watch TV and stuff round his place and that, you know, including my sister and my brother as well. Not so much my brother because he was very young, so it's me and my sister really. But it was mainly me that would go over there, and he acted like an uncle, if you like. So it was my escape from everything that was going on. There was somewhere that I could go where I could just sit there and just, you know.
Should we call him a name of some sort?
No, let's just not call him a name. But you could tell the viewers what he looks like.
Yeah, I mean, what was his age?
He was about 30, I think he was about 37. And he came from Scotland. Wasn't very tall, probably about sort of my size, I suppose. Glasses, a bit of a moustache and a bit of a beard. He had a motorbike. He was into bikes. So I remember that was a sort of topic of conversation being a kid. And I remember him taking us out on the bike and that.
Probably how he lured young boys in.
Yeah, quite possibly. But I mean, you know, as it progressed, you know, he would take me and my sister out, you know, to swimming. He'd take me out up to London.
Did your parents not find this a bit odd? A 30-odd-year-old man hanging around with 12-year-old kids?
At the time, I think they did, but I suppose at the time it was like, it really didn't seem anything sort of untoward. Again, because I guess that he kind of like introduced himself and got them on side sort of thing. Groomed them. Yeah, if you like, because I mean, I didn't really realise that I was groomed by him until a lot later, you know, so I was always questioning why did this happen, you know, because I couldn't see the actual, the lead up to it, if you like, or the grooming process, you know, of where he'd take us out, he'd buy us stuff, you know, and things like that, and it was all part of getting you to feel comfortable with that person, and then once you do, I guess to some extent, then they start taking advantage.
So it started with trips out, gifts.
Yeah.
Then how did it develop?
Well, I remember the first time. I remember us going to London and stuff, and we was walking past the shops and stuff, and there was all these clothes shops, and I liked clothes at the time. I was quite into suits, not so much suits, but shirts, and very much like this young man's dress. And
what, a three-piece like Sean?
Yeah.
Wall Street meets Peaky Blinders.
Indeed. But and I remember him going on about, oh, I'm going to buy you a suit, and it's going to be like specially like tailor-made, if you like, but we've got to get your measurements, okay? And but you have to be undressed for this. Right, okay. Obviously, being a child, and the way it was done, it was done in a sort of way that it wasn't like, I don't know how to explain it.
Was this in his house?
Pardon? This was across the road from me. This was.
So this is in his house. He goes, "You've got to get naked."
In his room.
Did he have a tape out and everything?
Yeah, he had the tape, and he was trying to measure me inside the leg and things. But it was all like, that was when all the sort of hands started wandering and things like that, and it sort of got like a bit sort of pushed me on the bed and sort of started touching me, and then putting his mouth over me and stuff, and I'm like,
and what was going through your mind at this time?
I'm scared, really scared, don't know what to do. Want to get out, but don't want to get. Do you know what? It's really like almost like Frozen to some extent, and just really didn't understand what was going on, because to me he was like almost like like a family, like an uncle. So how come this is happening? And also because of it being a male as well, being a man, which was obviously very confusing for a boy who always was attracted to girls, from an early age. So that was very confusing as well.
Could we talk about some of the acts that went on then, on that one occasion with the measuring tape? So he started off touching you.
Yeah, and then I remember him pushing me on the bed, and I was just like really unsure of what really was going on at the time, if that makes sense, because like it was just like so surreal, and afterwards, like, it was just horrible. I felt dirty.
There was no penetration or anything.
Not at that point. No.
Sensitive.
Oh God.
To be honest with you, no, not at that point. And it was like, after, it was like, I'm sorry, it will never happen again. Sort of don't say anything like, and along that sort of lines, I'm
going to ask you a personal question. Yeah. Did he ejaculate? What was his gratification out of this?
I'll be honest with you, the first time, I can't remember, but all the other times, yes. And there was, before that sort of happened, like, just a little bit before, I remember him, because he worked nights up in London. He was a porter. And I remember him, like, sort of like, going, because we was going to be going somewhere or something, and like he wanted some sleep beforehand, and he's like, I'm going to get half an hour's sleep or whatever it was, and I'm sat there watching the telly and that, and he was playing with himself like under the bed, which obviously was like a bit weird, and that was like not way before, that was only like a few days I think before that incident happened.
Right.
And that was the first time.
First time
that anything like sexual or untoward or whatever happened. And I was in total shock, to be honest with you, And
so you left. How did you get out of that on that occasion? You just went back home?
Yeah, it was just almost like nothing that had happened, if that can make any sense to you guys,
Just got dressed.
And it's just, and it was just like, yeah.
Were you really confused, I bet?
Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
Did your parents notice any change in your behaviour or anything?
Probably not, because of everything that was going on, being bullied and stuff. I was very, obviously stressed out as a kid, and very sort of like, I wouldn't say angry, maybe angry, but, you know.
Hope you're enjoying the podcast. Here's a quick word from our sponsor. Know what that sound means? It's more sales being racked up on Shopify. What do you think of Shopify, Jen?
I absolutely love Shopify, the all-in-one commerce platform to sell, grow, and make money for your business.
Have you used it to boost your business?
100%, yeah. So Shopify makes it simple for anyone to sell from anywhere in the world. From creating your online shop in your own look,
to finding new customers, to scaling your burning idea. With no need for skills in design or coding. It's how every minute of every day a new seller makes their first sale with Shopify, and you can join them.
So what is your favourite UK-based business that's found success with Shopify?
It's got to be Gymshark. They have grown massively thanks to Shopify. Now it's your turn to start selling today with Shopify for free.
And thanks to 24/7 support, Shopify is there to help you every step of the way.
Sign up for a free 14-day trial at shopify.co.uk/Shaun, SHAUN. Go to shopify.co.uk/Shaun right now to grow your business today.
So that's shopify.co.uk/Shaun, SHAUN.
Thank you for supporting our sponsor.
Yeah, very uptight, if you like, you know. That'd probably be the word. And so I think if that hadn't have happened, maybe they might have noticed something, like a change in my behaviour then. You know, because I think everything else compounded that. I think it kind of covered up what I was, or how I was feeling, or even acting maybe, to do with this, like the situation that we're discussing.
So did that make you then not go back to his house?
Well, no, because, like, as crazy as it seems, that was my only
refuge, kind of.
Refuge. And
buddy.
Yeah, and when, like, they said, like, you know, I'm sorry, it would never happen again and it's a mistake and that, I believed them.
Because you're just a kid.
I actually believed it, you know.
Yeah. Being manipulated.
And I thought, okay, you know, maybe, you know, people make mistakes. Maybe it's just, I don't know, something. And again, not really understanding it all. So, you know, or what it all, like, sort of really meant and what it all entailed. So I was just like, okay, you know, maybe let's just, like, sort of forget about it and try and sort of, like, move on, sort of thing.
And did he not try anything like that for a while to get your confidence back up?
When was the next event?
The next event would have been when he moved. Yeah.
So was the period of time you were hanging out with him and nothing was happening, so you felt the confidence was coming back?
It wasn't like it wasn't like every time I was around him he would try anything for the first initial time as we're talking. And then as it sort of progressed, then it would sort of like get a little bit more, trying to be a bit more frequent with trying to do stuff, or, you know, like getting me in compromising positions where I'm undressed and things like that.
So to just describe then the interlude, you're just going over the
hanging out
and things are. I mean, are you worried, like, when you're hanging out, that something like that might happen again at this point?
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, there's always that in the back of your mind.
And your siblings, are they hanging out there, and you're thinking possibly something could happen to them, maybe?
Yeah, but not really, because they didn't really hang out with him as much as I did. And yeah, I think what it was with him, it was like a case of, he was an opportunist to some extent. So he'd wait until he had the right opportunity and the right perfect time to be able to do whatever he wanted to do. And because my mum and dad were splitting up at the time and stuff, it was the perfect opportunity to, you know, for a young, vulnerable child to, you know, to be in a position where you could take advantage of them.
Why were your parents splitting up at this point?
It was just a case of they just didn't get on at all. And it came to the point of, I think they were both had enough of the arguing and everything else. So yeah, they was like, you know, splitting up and stuff, and my dad moved out. And my mum had another boyfriend, you know, a little bit after that, very recently after that. And I told my mum, I got the courage up to tell my mum what was going on, because he came over to the house, you know, and sort of like he'd come over for a bit, not often, but he'd come over for a little bit. And one night we was all going to bed, and he came up to the bedroom and that, and I was in bed, and he put his hands underneath the covers and started touching me, you know,
in your own house.
Yeah, through my pants, you know, because obviously I had pants on, and so he started touching me up through the underneath the duvet and stuff, and I was like, "What are you doing? Sort of get off," you know. And he sort of, you know, quickly and sort of like, and that was it for me, because that was the second time, if you get what I mean.
That was the second
time.
Okay.
Even though it was very quick and very brief, it was still, hang on, tell you when it's going to happen again, and now you're actually literally, you've gone out of your way so you know what you're doing, sort of thing. Even as a kid, I kind of realised that to some extent, but I didn't want to believe it. You know, you wanted to believe that, it's like having Stockholm syndrome, I guess. I started feeling sorry for this person.
We know about Stockholm syndrome, don't we? Yeah.
But you decided to tell your mum.
Yeah, so I got the courage up to tell my mum, and I remember me and her being in her bed, actually, and I was like, Mum, I've got something to tell you. And I was like, because me and her boyfriend didn't get on, I was like, can you not, you know, this is between me and you, I don't want you to say anything to him or anybody else. And she was like, okay, you know, sort of thing, what's up? So I explained to her that, you know, he'd been doing this thing, like touching me and stuff, and I don't like it. And she was like, right, okay. And the next morning when I got up and went downstairs, the boyfriend had a right go at me. And my mum had obviously told him what had happened. And
Sorry, what did he say to you?
His attitude was, you shouldn't have been hanging about with this person. You know, I knew something weren't right, blah, blah. It was very much like, sort of almost like you're to blame, if you like, you know. And I was just like, whoa, where's, you know, because I hadn't expected that, you know. I'd only told my mum, you know. And like, obviously, you know, I trusted, obviously, the person we're chatting about, you know, I actually sort of trusted him. And obviously he broke my trust by doing what he'd done. And then to tell my mum, and for my mum to break that trust, it's made it really hard to trust anyone. And I don't blame my mum at all, for that whatsoever. But it's just to have that, that trust, to be betrayed by those sort of people, it's very damaging.
Yes.
I'm just trying to get my head around this. This is mind-blowing. So you actually try and stop this now by telling your mum, and she promised you that she wasn't going to tell anyone else. Is that what happened?
Yeah.
But she
told her partner.
Immediately told her new boyfriend.
Yeah.
And then the next day you wake up and he blames you.
Yeah.
Well,
So there's no consequences for the predator. No one's confronted the predator over this. They're confronting you.
No, not at the time, no.
So he had no idea that you told your mum?
No, not at the time. But that day when he came over, I spoke to him outside the house. And I said to him, I've told Mum what's been going on. And he was like, what do you mean? And I was like, you know, like, things like, you know, like you've been doing and that, you know. What'd you do that for? You shouldn't have done that. And he's like, why are you making such a big deal out of it? And I was like, but, you know, you said it would stop, and it hasn't. And so I felt like, you know, I had to. And he was like, oh, well, you know, you need to, like, sort of like smooth it over sort of thing, you know. So I didn't really know what to do because I felt so alone, because now, you know, the person that I trusted, i.e. my mum, I didn't feel like I could go to her. So there really was no one else to go to, because the person I probably would have went to obviously was the abuser at the time. So it was like, I don't know, I was made to feel like I was in the wrong, you know, and almost like made to feel like you shouldn't, I shouldn't have said anything to anybody, do you know? And it was like, from his point of view, because obviously now I realise he was worried, you know, because obviously he knows that he's been messing around with an underage child, because that's what it was. So, you know, he was quite worried, you know, and quite rightly so. And so I kind of like, the police were called. And by this time I'd moved into my dad's over in East London. And the police came over, and I had to say like nothing had happened, because I felt that's the only choice I had.
Had he talked you into saying that?
Yeah.
Not talked me into it, but it was implied. Do you know what I mean? It was like I said, like, you know, why are you making a fuss out of this? Why are you making a big deal out of this? You know, you're making a big deal out of nothing. You know, so it's like, well, if I'm making a big deal out of nothing, then these other people are probably going to see that the same. You know, whether it be the police or somebody else that you spoke to.
So you started to doubt yourself.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, for a kid that had no confidence or you know, didn't really know like what the hell was going on, and was trying to deal with, like, you know, trying to be an adult really to some extent, because I was all, you know, trying to keep my family together, my mum and dad, you know, my brother and sister, and if I try and sort of keep them together, you know, and stop them, not the kids, but, you know, mum and dad arguing and stuff. So I had all that, as well as dealing with the kids and the bullying and just everything. And it was relentless, you know. And then obviously the last thing would have been, you know, somebody that I trusted doing what they'd done.
Of course.
Yeah.
So did the police drop the case at that point?
Yeah. I mean, look, the police came around, and they kind of there was no further action or anything like that.
And that did that give the perpetrator more confidence then?
I think so. Yeah, because there was other incidences that afterwards, you know, that sort of where it got.
After this incident with the police, did he go quiet for a little bit before the next one? What would you say the period was?
It wasn't that long. It probably would have been about a few months. And he moved into sort of like the centre of London. And I'd go obviously to London, I'd go in to see him, and he'd take me out, you know, we'd go out and so on and so forth. You know, because again, I was still in that frame of mind of, you know, that Stockholm Syndrome thing, you know. I mean, looking back at it now, if I look back now, I'm like, looking at that kid and going, you're crazy.
Run.
Do you know what I mean? Run, yeah. Get out as quick as you can. Go and tell someone. Or do something about it, you know. But, so, you know, like, people ask why people put up with that abuse or any, you know, that sort of thing. And to some extent, it's not that they want to. It almost becomes like second nature, if that makes any sense to you guys. So you just kind of end up taking it for something like normal, like making a cup of tea or, you know, making a cup of coffee or something, which is really scary when you look at it.
Yeah.
You know, for what it really is. And I remember being in his room, and he'd bought a washing up bowl, plastic washing up bowl full of water, and he threw it all over me. And the reason he done that was to get me undressed. And then he got me undressed and started touching me up and trying to forcing me to touch him. And I was in disbelief because I couldn't understand why you would just go and get, you know, I want to say a bucket, but it wasn't, you know, it's just like, you know, what's the word? A bowl of water and throw it over somebody. Literally just walk up and just go like that and sort of like laugh sort of thing. And then it's like, oh, we need to get you out of these wet clothes. And then it's like he starts getting undressed and it's like, you know, putting your hands to touch them and so on and so forth and them touching you. And again, like I'm going, is this really happening? What do I do? There's no one around. Can't talk to no one. You know, you didn't have mobile phones back then either. So again, I just, you know, put up with it, if you like, or let it happen. And it was pure for his gratification, you know. I mean, there was no sensitivity to the person, obviously, that he was abusing. If that makes any sense, your body reacts and stuff like, and obviously, you know, when someone touches you, your body like reacts and stuff. And I'd never actually, you know, had any kind of physical interaction like that with anyone before.
It's like a body function just getting triggered.
Yeah,
by a manipulator.
Yeah, and so. And that's, yeah, so that always...
All right, we just took a brief break from the story. Imagine many of the viewers now are feeling as we are feeling. I just expressed myself, and we're going to have to take that out as I feel about the person that's responsible in this situation. And, you know, Jamie's such a brave soul. He's come here because he wants other people who are going through things to be inspired by his story. And
yeah, if you can reach out to one child out there who's going through similar or something close to this.
That's what.
I mean, what advice would you give to them? Someone who...
That's what's really close to my heart. If I can help just one person. And just so that they know that they're not on their own. And there is people out there that will listen and will help them. And it is really hard, especially if you're in a situation where you can't get away from the abuser. Say it's a family member or something along that lines. Yeah, it's really difficult. But there is helplines out there. There is people that you can turn to and talk to. If you're a child, teachers. If you don't feel that you can talk to your parents. If you can go to like an adult that you feel comfortable with and, you know, you think that you can trust them, especially like, you know, not necessarily the police, but, you know, like I said, like teachers or somebody that you feel comfortable that you can relate to and you can trust, do it. And it's not your fault. And these people are there to help you, but they can't help you unless you ask for the help. And it's so hard being in a situation because a lot of people are ashamed. And they are made to feel, like myself, was all made to feel like it was our fault, you know. He's used to say to me, "I'm doing this because I love you," which was one of his favourite sayings, you know. So you can see how that would, you know, if somebody says that to a child that they're abusing, how that can, you know, it's so manipulative and so evil.
Disgusting.
Fucked up.
Yeah, it's really, really the most horrific thing that you can do to a child.
So you're very good at telling your story, Jamie. And if you need another break, just let us know.
Okay.
We left off then whereby the police case had been dropped. He's continuing to manipulate you. He's thrown water on you, and
yeah, again, that should have been. I don't know. That should have been like warning signs to get out, I guess. But you keep believing that these, you know, it was always, I'm sorry, it's never going to happen again. So you believe these people, you want to believe these people are going to change, or it was a mistake, you know.
You're just a child.
Yeah, and being a child, you keep wanting to believe in people's good nature, especially adults, because you look up to these adults, you know, they're supposed to look after you and love you and care for you and you know, keep you safe, if you like, you know, and teach you right from wrong. And, you know, he was doing everything that was totally the opposite, you know. And and had no sort of he had no conscience about it at all. You know.
Do you think he was getting more confident in his actions because he got away with it, and
I do believe so, yeah.
he realised he'd fully like brainwashed you?
Yeah, I do believe so.
So what was the next incident after that?
The next incident would have been in North London. He got a place in North London, and again, you know, it was the same sort of situation. I'd go up and see him and so forth, take us all out, and you know, obviously, you know, very, very pally with my dad now, obviously, and stuff. You know, so he's good friends with my dad, which, you know, made it a lot harder because, you know, I felt really bad for my dad that, you know, his friend, if you like, even though, you know, like I introduced, but, you know, his friend, because obviously, you know, they've become good friends because he'd wormed his way in.
So your mum hadn't told your dad at this point?
No, I'd spoken to my dad about it because that's where the police came round, and my dad was like, really, sort of thing, you know. And again, because I was so sort of scared and worried about everything and how it was all going to go, and my dad, I like, you know, when the police come round, I kind of had to say, because I felt compelled or whatever it is to say that nothing had happened, do you know?
So that cleared his name.
Yeah, if you
in
like.
your dad's eyes.
Yeah, to some. Yeah.
Still, your dad being friends with him.
You know, I think that was my fault, really, because I should have back then probably should have, you know, been more open about it, or been more straight about it, or,
Yeah,
or
but
whatever.
you were so young, you couldn't possibly have figured
and
that out.
I couldn't even comprehend what was happening to me back
You've
then.
been
you
groomed.
know? Yeah.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I just couldn't comprehend the whole thing, you know, because it was so like unnatural, you know, to everything that I was brought up to believe in, you know, like, you know, adults look after each other, you know, adults look after the children, you know, and that's what they're there for, you know, to make sure that kids don't do things wrong or don't, you know, have accidents, or, you know, tell kids, you know, get out the road or whatever it may be. You understand what I mean? So your authoritative figure. So that was how I was, you know, so I kind of looked up to him, you know, and even though he was doing this thing, I kept forgiving, if you like, you know, because he was saying, you know, it won't happen again, it won't happen again. And so the incident in Kilburn, which was one of the more, well, which was one of the major things, was I was round his one evening, and I can't remember how he managed to get me undressed, but he got me undressed. And I remember him pushing me onto the bed, and literally, he tried to rape me. He tried to penetrate me, or whatever you want to call it. And I went straight into shock. And I remember sitting on the bed, and there was a TV program on, and my head was just looking at, or my mind was just focused on this TV show, even though I wasn't watching it. So it was almost like in the background, you know, when you see TV shows and somebody's had you know, like there's a death on a soap, and everything's playing in the background just subtly, but you can still notice it, and the person's not there.
That's quite common.
So that was kind of what it was. So to me, it was like a disassociation. So in the meantime, he's trying to get my attention, and, you know, like, you okay? And I'm sorry, and, you know, all this sort of stuff. And I'm just, I can see him, I can hear him, I can hear the TV, but I can't respond. I don't know what to say. That was it. Too far.
Frozen.
Yeah, literally. And he wanted me to get into bed, and I was like, no. And he was like, right, well, then you can get your stuff and you can go. And this is probably about 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night. So trying to get a bus back from North London to East London, being, how old was I? Probably 14, 15 maybe. Was kind of impossible, you know, but I was like, fine. So I got the stuff and walked out, got to the bus stop, And he come running down, you know, and go, oh no, come back, and everything else. Because obviously I think maybe that's really when it clicked that, you know, that there was something majorly, you know, he'd gone too far, like, you know.
Going into detail, how did he not penetrate you?
Literally, as he tried to, it literally, as you can imagine the pain. And like, so I'm just like that, you know, literally, because it was just like, there was no, it was just, there was no gentleness about it, you know, that, if you understand what I mean.
Jesus Christ.
So you can imagine. And obviously, you know, your body reacts, so
Shock.
Well, obviously you tense up and that. So, you know, as that's, you know, happening, and your body's obviously not responding to that, you know. So, like, as that's, you know, as you're trying to insert something, it's, you know, it's going to hurt. Which is what it did, you know, to the point of, like, you know, jumping up, and it's, you know, and then that was when it was like, oh my God, you know, for him, you know, oh, gone too far now, sort of thing, you know.
Here's a message from our sponsor. Do you find yourself constantly signing up for things with subscriptions that are impossible to cancel? Never pay for an unwanted subscription again at Truebill. Do you know why free trials renew without your consent? It's something that drives me mad.
Absolutely mental.
Of course, it's a business scam out to get you. Don't let greedy corporations pocket your money. Download Truebill to take care of your subscriptions. Truebill is the new app that helps you identify and stop paying for subscriptions
That you don't need, want, or simply forget about. On average, people save up to $720 a year with Truebill.
which is approximately 500 quid. Because these damn companies make it hard to cancel your subscriptions, Truebill makes it incredibly easy to cancel. Just link your accounts and Truebill will make it easy to cancel your subscriptions in one tap.
And your Truebill concierge is there for when you want to cancel any unwanted subscriptions.
So you don't have to.
Stay on top of your spending with Truebill. Get an effortless breakdown of your finances to see where your money is going and how to improve. Truebill will notify you of important events that need your attention so you're never caught off guard again.
Like Becca L, who says, hands down, the best financial app I discovered. In my first week, I opened up $187 in unused recurring subscriptions. I'm obsessed. I never want to manage finances without Truebill again.
So don't fall for subscription scams.
Start cancelling today at truebill.com/Sean.
SHAUN. So go right now to truebill.com/Sean.
It could save you thousands per year. Thank you for supporting our sponsors. It's very important for the podcast production. And the links, as usual, are in the description box below this video.
I mean, there was another incident when he came over to stay at my dad's once, and I woke up, and this was in the middle of the night, and to see him over my bed masturbating over me. And I sort of woke up and pretending I was asleep, I noticed it. And that's when he sort of like put himself away and sort of went, and then he came back again and started again. And I sort of woke up and I thought, what's going on? You know, and then he sort of, and then, you know, so yeah, it was very, very,
It's fucking brave.
it's very predatory. He was, you know, you don't realise it at the time,
Sneaky.
yeah.
So after that night when he came and got you back, did you go back to the flat?
I did stay there that night, under duress, obviously, and I stayed on the floor. And then, sort of, by that time, I was sort of making an issue when he came over to stay at mine, that there was no way, you know, because we had, like, a spare bedroom, but it was a double bedroom, so, like, one of the other beds was in there. So, like, even my dad would stay in there because we were staying at his mum's at the time. And I was just like, there's no way I'm sharing a room with this person. And like my dad was like really sort of, what's the big deal and that sort of thing. And I was just like, I need my own space, I need my own sleep. But I didn't, because again, I was still, didn't know how to tell him, to be honest with you, you know. And obviously when I did tell him and stuff, like, you know.
Nothing got done.
No, he was heartbroken, my dad, because he's like, why didn't you tell me before and everything.
Oh, you mean when you tell him again?
Yeah.
Finally.
You know, and actually like say, look, this really did happen, because the reason it all came about, I was staying with my uncle, because I'd moved away out of London. And
how old are you at this point of the story?
I am now about 20,
Okay.
give or take.
So
Maybe a little bit old, maybe, I think about 23 actually, if I'm honest. So it'd been quite a few years.
But it had stopped before this, had it?
or was there more
I kind of stopped, like, after that, I kind of like,
Should we go back to how it stopped? It kept going. It sounds like he's progressively trying to get worse and do nastier things.
yeah.
Did he in the end manage to penetrate you?
After that time,
Okay.
Thank God.
after that time, I kind of like managed to sort of like keep my distance, if that makes any sense, you know. By then it was a case of, wow, I mean, I still can't believe that person actually done that. Do you know what I mean?
No.
You know, even now, just, I can see myself in that room. I could just picture it all now, you know, and the disbelief of what that person had just done just then, sort of thing. I think that compounded everything that he'd done already, you know, the fact that I was just like, you know, letting it go, if you like, or forgiving it, or, you know, under the pretense it would never happen again. And I think this last thing was like the precursor to sort of go, hang on a minute, this is not going to stop, and this person knows what they're doing, and this is deliberate.
How old were you at that point?
This would have been probably about 15-ish.
So it's been going on for about 3 years now.
Yeah,
Okay.
something like that. And like I said, how it came about me sort of confirming, if you like, that it did happen, was my sister had she'd already had one child, and she'd had another child, little baby, and she'd had to go away for the evening, and she was going to leave the baby with this guy.
Oh my God.
And obviously my uncle knew what was going on, and he said to my sister, you can't do that. And my sister was like, why, blah, blah, blah. So I think he told her. And she phoned me up, she said, I need to ask you a question. I said, okay. And she said, can I leave my child with this person? And I had to say no. And I had to say, you can't, because I don't think the child will be safe. And that was a big thing for me to do, because it was out of the blue as well. You know, there was no preparation. It was like, you know, it was just a phone call out of the blue. And, you know.
So that's forced it to the surface now, hasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, that phone call would have been when I was about 23, when I was in Dorset. And I've carried that ever since, you know, up until sort of even till this day, you know. So, and just try to deal with it the best way I can, I guess.
We'll go back to how it stopped with him. What stopped it?
Yeah.
Me keeping my distance.
When you were 15?
Yeah, it's sort of 15, 16. So it would have been like, I just started like, you know, going out on my own, not hanging out with him.
Did he try and get you back?
Not really, but I had the inclination that he'd sort of got his eyes set on a couple of others, you know.
What gave you that clue?
Because there was, where we was living, there was a family upstairs, and there was 3 lads. And one of the lads was like a little bit, I want to say slow, but, you know, he had learning difficulties and stuff. And this lad would have been about 11, 12. And it just seemed that he kind of lost interest in me, and he was very interested.
Get a bit old.
Yeah, he was very interested in this young lad. And I remember saying to him, I was like, why are you like spending so much time with him? And I said, is it because you can't get what you want out of me? Sort of thing, you know, because I just had this really underlying, just weird feeling that I could see him acting like he was acted with me to begin with. Do you get what I mean? And I really didn't want anybody else going through it, you know. So that sort of like, and he sort of like, after that came out with my sister, you know, like when I, you know, told my sister and stuff, and obviously my dad knew then and the rest of the family, he kind of like sort of disappeared very, very quickly, and sort of nobody sort of like could find out where he was to and whatever, you know.
Oh.
So I really don't know what actually happened to him, you know. I mean, I don't believe he's alive now, to be honest with you, if you look at the timeline.
Good.
Going back to when you were 15, 16 then, you said you just started hanging out on your own, and this has stopped now because you're not hanging out with him anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
When people go through traumatic things, like, you know, you said you disassociated and stuff like that, are you still in shock at this point, or is your brain now starting to like understand more? Because when you were 12, you were a kid and you didn't understand anything, but now as you've matured into your later teens, you're starting to realise
I'm starting to realise that it wasn't right.
What's going on in your head then as you're like 15, 16 and it's stopped?
Total confusion, to be honest with you. Total confusion.
Did you rebel at all?
Yeah, I suppose. Well, I say rebel, not really. It was more, I kept it all more in, so I think the damage was more done like to myself on the inside, if you like.
Did you turn to drugs, alcohol?
Brushings with the law?
Yeah. I've used drugs before. Not so much alcohol. But I did find the drug things was like originally, and it was really more sort of like, you know, I'd go out on the weekends and party with other people and stuff. But I did find that to some extent, I could have started using it using quite heavily, you know, maybe heavier drugs, because they did work. You know, it did stop you thinking about things to some extent. And so there was sort of time where for maybe about a month, I was like using, you know, taking ecstasy and stuff, even like during the day, you know, for maybe like a month or so, just to block things out.
Self-medication.
Yeah. But that's not an answer at all. And unfortunately, all that does is suppress the real problem. And I think realising that and realising that I had to deal and face, you know, and come to terms with what actually happened, I realised that it actually isn't my fault.
How long did that take to realise that?
Oh my goodness. Only up to probably about a year and a half ago.
So you've been carrying that weight around.
And even then, it's still there.
Wow. And were you in trouble with the law at this point?
Not really, no.
Have you been arrested?
Only for like minor things where it was just like sort of more mistaken identity and things like that, you know.
What?
Yeah. Apparently I look like criminals, you know. I'll get that. You look like a proper criminal, you know. You look well dodgy, you do. So no, not so much like, you know, I didn't go out like robbing people or you know, getting into any kind of like serious crime as such. I tried to like use my energies to, or you know, to focus on other stuff like the music and stuff. That, you know, that was so. I think if I didn't have the music thing, you know, or the artwork, I think then I definitely would have went down the wrong road, 100%.
So what did you do when you finished school?
Went straight into work.
As what?
What was I doing? I was working for a waste company actually to begin with.
And who were you living with?
Back then I was living with my dad, and then I moved to Dorset, which is a beautiful place, and lived with my uncle for 10 years.
For 10 years?
Yeah.
Would you say your relationship with your father was damaged because of this?
I would say no, because he didn't really know till sort of a lot later, and I don't blame either him or my mum at all, because it was specifically this person. This person was looking for somebody, and if it wasn't me, it probably would have been another family and another child.
It reminds me of that Netflix show, Abducted in Plain Sight, where he like gets in the good graces of the parents to get the daughter.
Yeah, that's what it is.
They're totally manipulated by him.
Yeah, and it's so callously but cleverly done. You know, they're experts at what they do. You know, and they're so calculating.
Were you able to have a normal relationship with somebody after going through that, or was it always triggering?
It's been really hard to not to maintain a relationship, but just to trust anybody to have a relationship as such. And the relationships I have had I've had, you know, they've broke my trust as such. So
if we go back to like your first girlfriend, then how old are you and what happened there?
Well, my first girlfriend, she was great. She was a really nice girl. She had cystic fibrosis. So yeah, but yeah, she was a really nice girl, and that ended like, you know, amicably. You know, we're both like, it had gone as far as it could go.
Sorry, carry on.
My next relationship,
was this all in your 20s or?
That would have been, yeah, my early 20s would have been my first.
I mean, what was your sexual relationships like after this?
Well,
like
it's kind of hard, because like it does damage that, you know, it really does damage your ability to enjoy, you know, sex with somebody and, you know, feel 100% comfortable. And yeah, that's it's really I mean, it affects people in different ways. A lot of people, some people, like, you know, end up, you know, having lots of partners and that, you know, going around, you know, having lots of one night stands and having lots of sex and so on and so forth. Where for me, it was kind of like the other way, where I kind of like didn't really want to let anybody close to me, sort of thing. My second girlfriend, we had an amazing sex life.
Ooh.
Yeah. So yeah, it, you know.
Is that because you was healing in your journey?
I'm not sure, because I still felt that anxiousness, that, you know, that abuse was still there, you know, but she was probably one of the most comfortable people that I'd been with.
Did you tell your girlfriends what you'd been through, or were you?
I did, actually, yeah. We did speak about it.
And they were understanding?
Yeah, she was actually,
Good.
yeah. But unfortunately, she broke my trust, yeah. So
How so?
that didn't end very well.
The second one?
Yeah.
What happened?
She cheated on me with somebody, and unfortunately that person was into drugs and stuff, and got her involved in drugs and that.
How did you find that out, that she was cheating?
She came and told me.
Oh, straight up.
Well, no, it wasn't actually straight up. It was after like 2 weeks of being really horrible and nasty and me not understanding what was going on.
Because you said she was on drugs. Was it heroin?
This was heroin, yeah. Now, she wasn't on drugs at the time that me and her were together. This was after she'd got with the other guy. And I got her off the drugs because they split up. And so I tried to get her off the heroin, which for somebody that ain't got a clue what they're doing, and she went cold turkey. She couldn't do it. She kept, you know, she was going back and forth between me and this guy, and it was partly to do with the drugs, obviously. But yeah, that didn't work out, and the trust issues there again were like, that put me off of having a relationship for 15 years, actually, to be honest with you.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you even begin to get someone off heroin?
Well, I don't really know, because I mean, the only thing that I could be is as supportive emotionally, you know. And it was really hard because obviously I had feelings for this person still, even though, you know, I was in love with this person. And you had to kind of put that aside, you know, and try and be strong for that person, you know, even though that you're really angry because...
How old was she at the time?
She would have been, I think, in her 20s. About 21.
So this piece of shit got her strung out on heroin.
Yeah.
Knowing how addictive it is. That's his hook, is it?
I don't think, no. I think they both had an issue with it, to be honest with you. I don't think it was... I don't think he deliberately got her onto the heroin.
They just facilitated each other's habits.
Yeah, I think there was an issue, and I think like that was what kind of led to him offering it to her. Sort of try this, you know, this will make you feel better, sort of thing. And that's kind of what led on to that.
One of my exes gave me heroin once.
Really?
Tricked me, put it in a roll-up.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That's shocking. That is absolutely disgraceful.
Yeah. I haven't tried it since, by the way.
So after that relationship then, you said you went into a period of not trusting people.
Yeah.
So if someone came into your life, you would just...
Keep them at arm's length.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
And that was throughout your 30s, was it?
Yeah.
Because how old are you today?
I'm 45.
45?
Yeah.
So all of your 30s, you were alone?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
And what was you working as? Was your career the same, or were you changing careers?
No, I was working. I've done warehouse work. I was working in warehouse roughly about then. Also, I did grounds maintenance, so I was running the parks in the local area that I was in, which was good fun. And so yeah, constantly working and just keeping yourself busy, if you like, you know.
What were your friends like?
In my 30s, I've got some good friends. Yeah, there's been some really good people that have actually been there for me.
Was it still out in Dorset? Was it?
Pardon?
Were you still out in Dorset? In your
No,
30s?
This was coming back here actually, coming back to where I am at the moment, and it's been a roller coaster. It really has, as you can probably imagine.
Have you ever had therapy to help you with any of this?
Well, when I went to Dorset and that, I did actually try and attempt seeing a counsellor. And when I got into the room, the first thing the lady said was, it's your fault that other people are being abused because you didn't tell the police that first time.
What?
Yeah, and I was like, okay, I'm going to leave now.
What type of therapist is that?
Honestly, that just, I was in just total disbelief.
Shock, yeah.
And I was like, well, I'm not exactly going to tell you anything then, am I? You know, so that was that. And that just gave me such a bad impression of counsellors, which I'll be honest with you, a lot of the counsellors are amazing. You know, unfortunately, I just got a bad one. So, you know, my hat's off to all the counsellors out there because you're doing an amazing job.
Does that mean you did eventually get a good one?
No. In the end, I've just dealt with it myself and just, you know, tried to, you know, keep going, if you like, and try and think positive, you know.
You are such a positive man. No.
Was there a period of like flashbacks, PTSD, dreams, nightmares?
Yeah. Dreams were one of the big things. Even like not so long ago, you know, having dreams of him abusing me, you know, literally, and you'd wake up and I'd be like, oh my God, you know. And again, like you say, the PTSD, you know, do get flashbacks, and like memory, you know, like stuff just coming out of the blue.
Yeah.
What would happen if you were walking down the street and you saw him in the present day?
I've asked myself that question so many times. And the answer that I can honestly give you is I would like him for example, to be sat in his chair, and I would like to ask him why he done what he done. I would really like to know, honestly, why you done what you done. And that would be my only question. Because I could not imagine doing that to any child, or anybody, let alone any child. And I just wonder what goes through people's heads like that, to be honest with you, because, yeah, it's just, I've lost for words in that sort of, there's no words to describe, anything like that,
It's absolutely disgusting. I mean, some victims of abuse get, how do I put this, aroused by their perpetrators later in life. Would you say that was the case for you? I know that's a difficult question, but...
No.
No.
Maybe that's because obviously I was always attracted to women, and because it was a male that actually, was the perpetrator. I never actually thought that until you'd asked that, to be honest with you. It is an interesting question.
I'm trying to digest it still. I think that you get situations where some people are abused and they're so broken, the cycle repeats throughout their life somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think regarding the arousal, I think it was more towards the end. It was like, well, at least somebody's paying some attention to you, even though you didn't want it and you didn't like it. And
that would make you feel guilty then, wouldn't you, thinking
of
that?
course, yeah. But I mean, the guilt was there anyway by the fact that it was a male, and, it should never have happened anyway. It was wrong anyway. And that was always sort of like prevalent in the back of my mind as a kid, because obviously we was brought up, I was always brought up to, think like, going to have a family, going to get married, etc., so anything like that wasn't sort of like on my mind, if you like,
How old were you when you had sex education in school?
That would have been probably about 14, I think, give or take. And the sex education was absolutely terrible.
Was it putting a condom on a banana?
Yeah, along that sort of lines, yeah. So...
but did that, because of the abuse, then when you had sex education, did that do anything to you mentally? Trigger anything?
No, but then probably that was because, like, it was still sort of going on around that sort of time. So it was sort of like, it was there anyway. So I think maybe if the sex education had happened, say, later after the abuse or something, then I think maybe that could have triggered something. But I think because it was all happening sort of around the same time, I don't think it did trigger anything at all.
Because you're in the disassociation phase. Yeah.
Yeah, wow. Have you ever been married?
No.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Good grief, Jamie, honestly. Yeah. Your spirit is just, it shines in your eyes and your smile, this amazing spirit. And I think the people watching this will probably see in the comments are going to acknowledge what a beautiful soul you've got. And is there anything we could do to support you? Is there anything what do you want from life now? What kind of people, the viewers, can the viewers help you in any way? What?
He's taking a back.
Sorry, yeah, I'm taken back by that. Oh goodness, I don't know at the moment. Can we have a break, please?
Yeah, we could finish it here if you want. Do you want to finish it here?
Maybe talk about what he's up to at this present moment and a bit more lighter stuff.
Okay. Right. So Jamie's had another break. To balance out the darkness, we're going to finish on a musical note. Hit it.
Hit it.
Thank you to Jamie on the guitar and James on the keyboard today. This is the first ever on the podcast. Very spontaneous. Jamie, you took us on a journey today. Your smile, man, it's the best. And for the people who've been on this journey with you, I'm sure some of these viewers might want to support you. So can people like follow you on socials or reach out to you on social media platforms or anything like that?
Well, I don't actually normally do like social media or anything like that, but what I'm hopefully going to plan to do now is I'm going to try and arrange an email address so that if anybody does want to talk to me or anybody needs any advice or just generally would love, like, you know, to share their story or just need somebody to talk to, you'll be able to email me. So,
and what about people who are perhaps watching this video, maybe going through the things you went through, and they're holding it in, and you know,
it's the most dangerous thing you can do. It really is. It's the most damaging thing you can do, and nobody should have to do that. Nobody should feel that you know that they've got nobody to talk to or nobody to confide in. So anybody listening out there, you know, you're not alone. And I do urge anybody that needs help or is in the same or a similar situation to myself, you know, to get the help that you need. Definitely speak to somebody, talk to people, and don't keep it all inside.
So Jamie's email address will be in the description box below this video. So if you want to reach out, please reach out. And we give you all our love and support and some riders on the storm.
Indeed, yeah.
Riders on the storm.
Hit it.
Oh, this is all getting cut, you know that. We could just like, if you want to
try riders.
Yeah. We're going to sound absolutely awful.
chat what I'm trying to remember what you're doing now. That's it. Yeah, we just do that bit. We just do that meow, 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 and then it's, hang on, sorry, and then it's
Riders on the storm.
Riders on the storm. We'll get a bit deeper like you.
and then I'm trying to think.
Into this house we're born.
Yeah, and it goes up, doesn't it?
Into this world we're from.
Yes.
Like a dog without a bone.
Acting out alone.
Riders on the storm.
I think, yeah, we need to stick to podcasts.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
There's a killer on the road.
His brain is squirming like a toad.
Take a long holiday.
And let your children play.
If you give this man a ride.
Sweet family will die.
Killer on the road.
Yeah.
Girl, you gotta love your man.
Girl, you gotta love your man.
Take him by the hand.
Make him understand.
The world on you depends.
Our life will never end.
Gotta love your man.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching. We will stick to podcasting in the future. Cheers.
Thank you.
Oh, well done, Jamie. Good to know.
Well, yeah, okay,
That was hilarious.
That's like, it's such an experience.
This podcast is sponsored by Gadfly Press. We are proud to announce the publication of Britain's #1 art forger, Max Brandett, The Life of a Cheeky Faker. And from the back cover blurb, Max the Forger is an artist and gentleman whose colourful lifestyle has spanned over 70 years. He has lived under the strict regime of Bernardo's children's homes, been an elephant handler in the circus, lived rough, busked his way from Brighton to Bombay, sold his fakes up and down the country, dined with dukes, socialised with celebrities, associated with gangsters, served time in prison, and donated tens of thousands to charity. And through it all, he has never stopped smiling and loving life and missing his mum. Quote from the book. Mr. Brandrett, I do not see you as a malicious criminal, sighed the judge. But why, oh why, do you continue to use your God-given talent in this way? I just can't help myself, Your Honour. It's like an addiction, I grinned. Available worldwide on Amazon, link in the description box below this video. Thank you for supporting our sponsor.
Here at Boomer & Jen, we offer a wide range of organic or recycled clothing. We all know our planet is important. We only have this one, so it's vital that we all work together to slow down and reverse the changes to the environment. Whilst we all know that big industry are having a significant effect on pollution, here at Boomer & Jen, we believe that if we all make small changes, we can do our part. Fast fashion causes detrimental effects to the planet. Not only is nearly 20% of global wastewater produced by the fast fashion industry, but there is a considerable amount of fast fashion ending up in landfill. So let's move away from fast fashion items that are only worn once or twice and start wearing extremely comfortable, durable and environmentally friendly clothing and ethical jewellery. Boomer & Jen was founded in a quiet town in Devon in 2018. It is now gone from strength to strength as the world is becoming more aware of the current climate situation, helping our customers to buy sustainable, quality clothing. All of our products are fair trade and registered with the Global Organic Textiles Standard Association. Check us out on organiccottonclothing.co.uk.